Environmental groups have blasted the decision, saying it spells the end of the road for US action against climate change, even as the impacts of global warming become more severe. The Trump administration said this week that it would be rescinding the long-standing finding that greenhouse gas emissions endanger human health, removing the legal foundation for all American greenhouse gas regulations. The EPA proposal must go through a lengthy review process, including public comment, before being finalised, likely next year. Well, for more, let's bring in Dan Becker. He's director of the Safe Climate Transport Campaign at the Centre for Biological Diversity. Thanks, Dan, for being with us on the programme this evening.
Thanks for having me on.
It's called the 2009 endangerment finding. You describe that as the biggest single step any nation has taken to combat global warming. Just tell us exactly what that was and how it came to change our lives, American lives, for the better.
Actually, the biggest single step are the clean car rules that Trump announced also yesterday that he's rescinding. Those would cut 7 gigatons of carbon dioxide over the life of the vehicles being made. But the two of these go together in that the science determination has encouraged the government to take action against global warming pollution. And taking that away is doing an enormous favor for the oil industry, which funded Trump's campaign to the tune of $445 million. So this is payback. And it's a dreadful blow to those who want to combat global warming. The US is the second biggest global warming emitter in the world after China. And the consequences are huge. We're going to have to figure out a way to undo this, but it's going to be tough. One hope is that the Trump administration is going to have to go into courts and argue that the science behind global warming is bunk. And it's not. The world's leading scientists are on our side and demanding that we take action. So convincing a court, even a conservative one, that the science is a fraud is an uphill battle for the Trump administration. But we still have individual sources like automobiles, power plants, factories that have to be controlled. Otherwise, the U.S. will continue to guzzle and pollute and spew emissions.
And the Trump administration, it claims that these kind of regulations, these environmental regulations, they're too costly, they're overreaching. Why exactly, though, is this all happening now, in your view?
Well, it's happening now because Trump won. And you know, a year ago, April, he served chopped steak to a bunch of oil CEOs at Mar-a-Lago and said, if you give me $1 billion for my campaign, I'll do anything you want. They gave him basically $445 million, and now he's doing everything that they want. So all of the rollbacks on clean cars, on clean power, on renewable energy, all of that is at the behest of the oil industry and sometimes the auto industry. And it's having terrible consequences for the United States, including for American automakers who will lose their shirts to China because China is going to make clean vehicles. They don't have a Trump in office who denies the facts. And the Chinese have companies like BYD, which most Americans have never heard of, but Europeans are beginning to. They sold 4.5 million EVs last year, electric vehicles. And there's no place to go but up for the Chinese if the American manufacturers uniformly disarm, which is what they're invited to do by Trump.
And Dan, you mentioned the courts there a little earlier. Is there likely then, is it inevitable that there will be legal challenges to these plans? If so, will they succeed and on what grounds, do you think?
There absolutely will be challenges. Whether they succeed is not my decision. It's up to very conservative judges, many of whom have been appointed by Trump. And the chances are far from certain that they will act in a reasonable manner. They are also afraid of Trump. He's tried to threaten some of them, both in terms of taking away their authority refusing to do what they order his administration to do, and even to essentially threaten their safety and the safety of their families. So Mr. Trump is acting like a thug when it comes to the courts, and whether they kowtow to him is not yet clear.
And Dan, we've been talking about tariffs this evening. There's also concerns being raised about the effects that those kind of measures can have when it comes to the environment. These tariffs that Trump is announcing, cuts, other various policies, and really the uncertainty that all of this is creating, for example, in the geothermal industry and for other cleaner energy sources.
Well, I'm not a trade lawyer. I'm an environmental lawyer. And so I'm not an expert in the tariffs. They certainly are adding pressure to American companies at a time when American companies need to deal with the changes that Trump is throwing at them. They're also, of course, a challenge for companies that sell products to the United States. We want to buy clean vehicles. We want to buy clean energy. And to the extent that Trump is trying to prevent that from happening with a 100% tariff, for example, on Chinese electric vehicles, that's a real problem both for the United States and for the rest of the world, because the atmosphere is a global commons. And whatever comes out in the United States circles the world and heats it.
Dan, we'll have to leave it there for now. Thanks so much for your analysis, though, and your expertise. That is Dan Becker, Director of the Safe Climate Transport Campaign at the Centre for Biological Diversity.